Hola amigos de TV Agro.
Hello friends of TV Agro. Welcome to our project, Finca Agroecologica, Sueño Verde. My name is Egi Gutierrez. Our project is located in Cáqueza, Cundinamarca. We are close to the city of Bogota, approximately 40 minutes away. In our project, you will learn about the agroecological processes of recovery of culture and peasant knowledge. We manage a whole project of volunteering, gastronomic, and cultural recovery.
En nuestro proyecto nos enfocamos
We focus on the recovery of soils, living barriers, seeds. We handle the issue of biopreparations to repair the soil.
preparados para arreglar el suelo. Nos enfocamos muchísimo en el cuidado de las abejas.
We focus on the care of bees, water, which is very important at this moment in history. Our idea is to have an open space where people from all over the world can come and learn about the life of a farmer.
Conocer de la forma y de la vida campesina, ¿no? O sea, de poder vivir y cómo se puede vivir y cómo podemos estar
At the same time, they can learn about the conservation of the space.
cuidándonos a nosotros, cuidando a la gente que vive acá. Nosotros manejamos cultivos libres.
And the care of the chemical-free crops that we have here. We want to raise awareness of the importance of using grass,
Trabajar con lo que tenemos en el lugar, ¿no? Aprovechar las hierbas, aprovechar los estiércoles de los animales, aprovechar
manure, rainwater, and everything that nature gives us.
cómo hacer un espacio donde todo lo que tenemos en la finca
And thus have a sustainable farm.
sea más sostenible, ¿no? Es una de las ideas principales. Bienvenidos, acompáñenos a conocer nuestra finca.
Welcome. We will now take you on a tour of our farm.
De las barreras vivas, les vamos a contar la importancia y por qué instalamos estas barreras vivas en los cultivos.
We are at the site of the living barriers. We are going to tell you the importance of why we install these living barriers in the crops. Living barriers are important to stop wind erosion. Also, we work on the crops in the form of terraces to prevent water erosion.
Alrededor de los cultivos, las cuales nos prestan un beneficio muy importante para
They are managed around the crops. They provide a benefit because within these species, microclimates are created and they are hosts for animals that are beneficial for agriculture.
Dentro de estas barreras vivas también se genera una fauna que los animales pueden posar ahí muy fácil.
Living barriers can be made in different ways, in which we sow plants
La barrera viva se puede hacer de diferentes formas, el cual sembramos plantas que también nos sirvan para darle alimento.
that also serve to feed our animals. For this reason, we highly recommend it.
Como podemos ver, por todos los bordes manejamos principalmente botón de oro. ¿Por qué? Porque este botón de oro pues crece rápido, se adapta al territorio.
As we can see, the living barriers are all borders.
Las abejas también. Y el botón de oro pues también se ve muy bonito, ¿no? Porque también la idea de la barrera viva es poder como
We mainly handle buttercup. The buttercup grows fast, adapts to the territory, provides food for the bees, and gives us harmonious view.
muchos beneficios tener barreras vivas. Les vamos a explicar cómo se organiza una barrera viva, ¿no?
I will explain how to organize a living barrier. It is very easy and simple. I'm going to cut a branch here, take a cutting of buttercup, make a bevel cut.
1, 2. Entonces se aprovecha al máximo la.
We make the most of the plant. We can plant our barrier at 30 centimeters.
La misma machete si la tierra está blandita o con una barra, ¿no? Y vamos a poner
With the same machete, if the soil is soft, or with a bar, we make a hole to plant the cutting that we have just cut. The care of the barrier is very easy, very simple. When we sow it, we can put a little fertilizer and press the soil and the plant is maintained.
Y ella pues ahí ya se prende, ¿no? Entonces dependiendo el terreno.
Depending on the terrain, we can make long or short barriers. It depends on the need of the place.
¿No? Del lugar.
Hola, mi nombre es Nicola.
Hello, my name is Nicola. I'm Italian and I come to Colombia 10 years ago. I have been part of the project here for 7 years. I have a farm near the project, but I like to collaborate with them. They received me here for 1 year. We collaborate on the issue of seeds, crops, of doing things in a different way to the conventional way.
Tratando de manejar el trueque, de manejar la mano vuelta, a través de colaborar.
Handling, bartering, hand in hand without mixing the economic factor. We work a lot on the issue of edible forests.
Aquí en la finca Sueño Verde se hacen cultivos en forma convencional.
Here at the Sueño Verde farm, we grow crops in a conventional way. They are monoculture. We work a lot on the issue of edible forests. Here at the Sueño Verde farm, we grow crops in a conventional way. They are monoculture, although other foods have been incorporated. Part of the farm is to make an edible forest. The idea of having a forest, but one that produces food with the greatest possible variety. Conventional monoculture agriculture, although it is worked organically, it is not the best for our land. Why? The soil always has a cover of organic matter. It must always have shade. The soil is not naturally because it does not have much effect from the sun, because the sun destroys the microorganisms. It destroys many animals that are in the soil. The soil must be considered a living being, and we must maintain it as our Mother Nature created it. I always say that the best example of perfect agriculture is the Amazon forest, where there are millions of bushes and animals, living beings in 1 square meter.
Es el ejemplo. Yo, por ejemplo, en mi finca es el trabajo que hago.
For me, that is the example. I try to imitate the Amazon forest on my farm.
Esto era un peladero, literalmente.
Here we are working hard. 20 years ago, it was not like that. It was more depopulated with plants. Now there is already a forest and many plants that produce food. Here we have feoja, mango, pears, peaches. There we can see a living barrier of mulberry, which is another example of a living barrier. It produces food for humans and birds and also produces fodder for the animals. The idea that it is symbiosis and there is a balance is the idea of an edible forest where one has to do minimal or zero tillage and food is produced. An example is the cultivation of the balu bean. As we can see, we are surrounded by this fruit. It is a delicious bean that can be used in thousands of ways. It is a legume rich in nitrogen. One has a land that is very degraded. This plant produces fruit, but in a few years it will fix everything that is planted around it. It grows wonderfully. It is food for animals since its leaves are fodder. It is a source of protein. It produces shade. It helps to grow.
Y ahora, por ejemplo, aquí en la finca.
If you notice everything around the balu bean, it grows marvelously. And now, for example, here at the Sueño Verde farm, they are using this edible forest to plant coffee. Undershade coffee grows very well. Another thing that is implemented, another business, and economic income that is always useful, that is the idea of the edible forest.
Y también nosotros manejamos el tema de las semillas.
We manage the issue of seeds with Don Luis. The owner of the farm, we belong to the National Network of Seed Guardians of Colombia, which is very important to save our native and Creole seeds, because the multinationals and what we know are trying to take over the world and make biodiversity disappear. In an edible forest, biodiversity is also fundamental, which means life.
Cuando uno hace un monocultivo.
When one makes a monoculture, one single thing, and uses transgenic seeds of a single variety.
Contraproducente en nuestra vida, literalmente.
This is literally counterproductive in our life. I use the food forest to experiment with food in a different way.
Por ejemplo, este es el frijol balú, que
For example, this is a very well-known balu bean, a wonderful food. You can use it when it is still young, when the cold has not yet developed. I always teach this to everybody. You can use this whole thing with the skin and everything. It is cut like a bean. It is delicious. It has a slightly different taste. It looks like eating olives from the forest. We really experiment a lot with food and try to use literally everything. There is a lot of food wisdom that has been lost in recent years with the increase of junk food, everything packaged. Our beloved nature has given us millions of food options.
opciones de comida.
Our beloved nature has given us millions of food options, which is already being lost.
Amigos de TV Agro,
Friends of TV Agro, thank you very much for joining us today on our tour of our finca Sueño Verde. You are all cordially invited to volunteer in our spaces, in our farms, to get to know the Colombian countryside, how we live in these beautiful mountains. My contact number is 310-782-5619. We say goodbye here from the Rio Negro Canyon.
del hermoso Río Negro.